The universe had decided that humanity must end. The Galactic Council, a gathering of the oldest and strongest species in the stars, met in secret halls and passed judgment. For years, they had watched Earth grow. They had seen humans leap from fire to metal, from machines to rockets, and from rockets to ships that touched the edge of space. To the Council, humanity was moving too fast. They feared what humans could become. And so, in a single meeting, they declared, humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to live. The sentence was extinction. The decision spread across the galaxy like a cold wind. Worlds whispered in fear, not for themselves but for Earth. No species had ever survived once the Council spoke. When the Council gave a death order, fleets obeyed. Armies moved. Planets burned. It was law. Civilizations far older than humanity had vanished because of such a vote. No one questioned it. But this time, something was different. This time, the condemned were human. The Council expected begging. They expected fear. They expected Earth to send ambassadors crying for mercy. That was how it always went. But Earth did not cry. Earth did not beg. When the message of extinction reached humanity, the leaders of Earth read it in silence. Then they turned off the transmission. The line went dead. The galaxy waited for a reply, but none came. Days passed. Then weeks. Still, Earth was silent. The Council grew uneasy. Why were the humans not answering? Why were they not kneeling before the mighty? For all their short history, humans had always been loud, proud, and reckless. Now they were quiet. Too quiet. Silence was not normal for humanity. Silence was dangerous. Some council members whispered that perhaps the humans had accepted their fate. But others felt a shadow of fear. What if silence meant something else? What if silence meant planning? Out in the stars near Earth, alien fleets gathered. Armadas of silver and gold ships waited just beyond the human border. Thousands of warships from dozens of species pointed their guns toward one small blue planet. From above, Earth looked fragile, a weak jewel floating in the dark. It seemed impossible that such a place could stand against the firepower of the galaxy. And yet, the fleets did not move forward. They waited. They hesitated. Reports began to come in from the edges of human space. Strange activity was seen near the asteroid belt. Mining stations went dark. Cargo ships vanished without trace. Satellites caught glimpses of massive shapes moving in the void, too far away to identify. When scouts were sent closer, their signals never returned. Something was happening inside human territory, something hidden. The Council demanded answers. None came. The fear spread further when merchants and smugglers whispered stories of the human gaze. They said that when human soldiers looked at you, it was as if they saw something you did not. They said that humans could not be broken, that pain only made them stronger, that fear only made them more dangerous. Many in the galaxy laughed at these stories, dismissing them as myths. But some remembered history. Some remembered the wars humans fought on their own world, wars that left cities in ruins and millions dead. If they had done such things to themselves, what would they do to others? And so the question rose again and again in every council chamber, in every alien court. Why were the humans so calm? Why no panic, no surrender, no desperate plea for survival? The council leaders told themselves that silence was weakness. But in their hearts, they felt the truth. Silence was not weakness. Silence was the promise of something yet to come. On Earth itself, the skies were busy. Factories roared day and night. Lights burned in underground chambers where no satellite could see. Across the oceans, ships carried metal, fuel, and machines. Scientists disappeared into secret facilities. Soldiers trained in silence, their eyes cold, their hands steady. There were no speeches. There were no promises. Only preparation. Humanity did not weep for its fate. Humanity sharpened its blade. In the halls of the council, the elder species argued. Some wanted to strike immediately, to send the fleets and crush Earth before it was too late. Others warned that rushing might bring disaster. The debate grew heated. Still, no decision was reached. Still, the fleets waited. Still, Earth remained silent. The galaxy trembled in that silence, like prey that senses the hunter but cannot see it. The final spark came when a council messenger was sent to Earth, carrying one last chance for surrender. His ship arrived at the edge of the solar system. He sent out a hail. For 3 days, no answer came. Then, on the 4th day, his ship vanished from the stars. No wreckage. No distress signal. Nothing. It was as if the universe itself had swallowed him whole. The council never saw him again. And so the truth could no longer be ignored. Humanity was not silent because it was afraid. Humanity was silent because it was preparing for war. The galaxy expected chaos, but instead it met silence. Earth did not shout, did not protest, did not even whisper. The quiet stretched across weeks, and that quiet felt heavier than any fleet of warships. To the council, silence had become a weapon, and it was more terrifying than open defiance. Aliens across the stars began to wonder what the humans were doing behind that wall of stillness. The fleets that circled the border of human space grew restless. Soldiers inside those ships had fought many wars, but none of them had faced an enemy like this. They knew how to fight those who screamed, those who begged, those who cursed. But what do you do when your enemy refuses to speak at all? The captains reported strange movements near the solar system. Patrol ships sent to investigate never returned. Sensors picked up strange energy bursts that did not match any known weapon. Each time the council demanded a clear explanation, the scouts were gone before they could send one. It was as if the humans were erasing evidence before anyone could see. The council leaders began to argue among themselves. Some said humanity was bluffing, trying to stall for time. Others warned that if Earth was preparing a strike, waiting would only make things worse. Yet no decision came, and the fleets remained outside human space, their weapons ready but their courage uncertain. Inside Earth's borders, a transformation was happening. Cities still looked the same from orbit, glowing with lights as night fell across continents, but deep below, massive projects were underway. Underground tunnels shook with the thunder of machines. Factories worked without pause, building things no outsider could see. Cargo ships carried sealed containers across oceans, their contents unknown even to their crews. Orbital stations, once quiet, now flashed with constant movement. Human engineers worked like ants, silent but tireless. To outsiders, it looked like madness. To humans, it was survival. Rumors leaked through the galaxy. Traders claimed they saw shadows of massive warships near the asteroid belt, shapes too large to be mining vessels. Smugglers swore they picked up coded signals hidden inside ordinary broadcasts, signals that spoke of a coming storm. Some aliens laughed at these tales, dismissing them as lies made for credits. But the soldiers waiting at the borders did not laugh. They felt the pressure growing. They felt as if the darkness itself was watching them. For many, sleep became impossible. They stared into the void and wondered if the humans were already there, waiting. One night, a small alien patrol ship disappeared less than 2 days from the human border. It sent a single final message: "We are not alone out here." After that, silence. No wreckage. No survivors. The council tried to cover it up, but whispers spread too fast. Panic grew. Even the strongest species, who once spoke proudly of crushing Earth like an insect, now avoided saying such words aloud. The silence had changed them. They were beginning to fear what they could not see. On Earth, the leaders met in dark rooms far below the surface. Generals laid out maps of stars, marking targets across the galaxy. Scientists revealed weapons that had never been tested in open battle. There was no hesitation in their voices. The council had chosen war, and war was what they would receive. Yet still, Earth said nothing to the outside. Not a word, not a warning. Their silence was sharper than any blade. The moment that sealed the galaxy's dread came when one of the border fleets, led by a proud admiral from a powerful species, decided to test human strength. He sent drones into human space, armed with cameras and weapons, small enough to avoid detection. For 2 days, the drones sent back images of empty darkness. On the 3rd day, the images stopped. The admiral thought the drones had failed, until his flagship received a final transmission. It was not an image. It was a sound. A single human voice, speaking in calm, steady tones. "You should not have come here." Then silence again. The admiral did not report this message to the council. He could not explain it. He could not even understand it. How had the humans known where the drones were? How had they spoken through them? The mystery crushed his pride and left him shaken. He swore he saw human shadows even when he closed his eyes. More weeks passed. The fleets did not attack. The council demanded patience. But patience was breaking. Every day of silence made the galaxy feel smaller, darker, more dangerous. They had declared humanity would end, yet the humans had not even answered. And that answer, when it finally came, would shake the stars. The first strike came without warning. For months the fleets of the council had waited at the edge of human space, restless and uncertain, their weapons aimed at Earth but their courage slipping away. The admirals argued that if the humans would not surrender, then the fleets should strike first and end the silence. And so, one armada was chosen. Thousands of ships from 5 different species crossed the border into human territory, their banners raised high and their weapons hot. The council expected an easy victory. They believed the humans were hiding behind fear and tricks. They believed that once the fleets entered, Earth would burn within days. But the first strike did not go as planned. The armada moved across the stars, cautious yet confident, but the deeper they flew, the stranger it became. Human space was too quiet. There were no patrol ships, no satellites, no defenses waiting to intercept. The planets they passed were silent, their skies empty. It was as if humanity had abandoned its home. The commanders laughed at this and pressed forward, certain that Earth had already collapsed under the weight of its doom. But then the ships began to vanish. At first it was only 1 or 2. A scout vessel reported static and then went dark. A cruiser followed. Soon entire squadrons were gone without a trace. No distress signals, no wreckage, nothing. The admirals ordered tighter formations, certain it was a trick, but the losses continued. Panic spread through the crews. They whispered about invisible weapons, about shadows moving between the stars. The commanders told them not to fear, but in their own hearts, they felt the same dread. Then the first human warship appeared. It came out of the void like a phantom, enormous and brutal, black metal shining with the cold fire of the stars. It did not look like the elegant ships of the council. It was heavier, darker, a vessel built not for show but for war. Its guns glowed with a power no alien had seen before. The alien armada opened fire. Thousands of beams, missiles, and blasts struck the human ship, but the human vessel did not fall. It moved through the storm like a predator through rain. Then it answered. With a single shot, one alien battleship was cut in half. With another, a squadron vanished in white light. The council fleets screamed in panic. They fired wildly, desperate to bring down the monster, but the human warship moved with deadly purpose. Each time it fired, dozens of alien ships were erased. No debris, no remains, only silence after the strike. In hours, half the armada was gone. The rest turned to flee, but the void had already closed around them. More human ships emerged, shadows rising from the darkness. They were different sizes, some small and fast, others massive and terrifying, but all carried the same mark of Earth. The retreating aliens had no escape. One by one, their ships burned. None returned to tell the tale. Outside the battlefield, in the council chambers, confusion turned to terror. The armada had been one of the strongest forces they had ever sent. It had vanished without leaving a single survivor. The council demanded answers, but none came. Only fragments of signals reached them, screams, static, and then silence. Rumors spread like fire. Traders swore they saw new human ships patrolling near the border, larger than anything the galaxy had known. Soldiers whispered of weapons that could erase a ship in an instant. Ordinary people across alien worlds looked to the sky and wondered if humanity was already coming for them. The council tried to calm the fear, but the fear was stronger than their words. They had expected weakness and found something else. They had expected prey and found predators. For the first time, the galaxy began to realize the truth. Humanity was not hiding. Humanity was not waiting to be erased. Humanity was preparing for war, and the first strike had been their warning. The council sat in their halls, silent now themselves, and for the first time in centuries they felt the weight of their own judgment. They had declared humanity too dangerous to live. But as the first fleets vanished into the cold dark of human space, it became clear that perhaps it was the galaxy itself that was in danger. The galaxy had waited for humanity to speak, and at last, they did. After months of silence, after fleets vanished into the dark with no survivors, a single human message cut through the stars. It did not come with diplomacy or apology. It did not come with begging or surrender. It came as a warning. The voice was calm, steady, almost cold. It said only this: "You wanted war. Now you will have it." Those words spread across the council worlds like fire. Every planet, every fleet, every soldier heard them. And in those 7 words, the galaxy understood that humanity was finished hiding. The council had declared extinction, but now it was humanity that was hunting. Soon after, the human warships began to reveal themselves fully. Until now, they had only been shadows in the void, glimpses of steel and light tearing apart fleets before vanishing again. But now they emerged in force. The first true sight of a human battleship left the galaxy in shock. It was colossal, larger than any vessel the council had ever built. It was shaped not with beauty or art, but with pure purpose. Every surface was armor, every angle sharp, every line filled with weapons. It was not a ship built to sail the stars. It was a ship built to kill. Entire alien fleets gathered to face this monster, confident in their numbers, but they were broken in minutes. Alien commanders screamed for reinforcements, but no reinforcements could match what they faced. Human ships moved as if they were alive, coordinated, fast, and ruthless. Their weapons tore through shields that were once thought unbreakable. Their armor shrugged off firepower that had destroyed worlds. For the first time in history, the council saw its fleets running in panic. The old powers that had ruled the stars for centuries found themselves fleeing before an enemy they had once called primitive. Across the galaxy, fear grew. Traders spoke of giant human ships that appeared without warning, cutting through armadas before fading into the darkness again. Smugglers swore that human vessels could cloak themselves, hiding until the perfect moment to strike. Refugees from border systems carried stories of entire planets going dark after a single human fleet passed by. None of these tales could be confirmed, but none could be denied either. The galaxy had no proof, but it no longer needed proof. Fear was proof enough. Inside the council chambers, chaos reigned. Leaders shouted over one another, demanding answers. How had humans built ships like this in such little time? What weapons did they wield? Who had given them this power? Some whispered that humans had found technology older than the council itself, relics of dead civilizations. Others believed that humanity had created something new, something no one else had ever dared imagine. No one agreed, but all of them felt the same fear. They had underestimated Earth, and now the price was blood. Meanwhile, humanity spoke again. Another message spread across the stars, this time colder, sharper than the first. It said, "You brought war to our door. Now we will bring it to yours." With those words, the age of defense ended. Humanity was no longer guarding its home. It was preparing to strike outward. The galaxy, once so vast, no longer felt safe. Every border world looked to the stars and waited for human ships to arrive. Some species begged the council to end the war, but the council could not stop what it had started. The humans would not forgive. The humans would not forget. The humans had revealed their strength, and that strength was unstoppable. On Earth, factories still roared. Underground silos still shook with the forging of weapons. Training fields filled with soldiers who did not speak of peace, only of war. Humanity had become something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. They were united. For the first time in their long history of division, humans stood as one. And when humanity was united, nothing in the universe could stand against them. The Council realized too late that the Extinction Order had been their greatest mistake. They had hoped to erase a species. Instead, they had forged a weapon. They had awakened an enemy that did not fear death, an enemy that answered threats with silence and silence with war. Now the galaxy saw the truth. The humans were no longer hiding. They had revealed themselves fully, and the stars would never be the same again. The galaxy had believed the humans would only defend their small blue planet, but that belief ended quickly. The moment humanity revealed its warships, the moment their cold voice promised war, the tide turned. Earth was no longer the target. Earth had become the hunter. Human fleets did not wait behind their borders anymore. They launched outward, striking across multiple star systems at once. The first counterattack came like a storm. Entire fleets appeared at alien strongholds, tearing through defenses before the defenders could even react. The Council had thought their bases were safe, hidden deep inside secure space, but human warships appeared there as if they had known the coordinates for years. One after another, those bases fell. The galaxy watched in shock as the hunters became the hunted. On one world, an alien governor ordered his armies to prepare for battle when sensors detected human ships entering orbit. Within minutes, those armies were gone, destroyed in flashes of white fire that left nothing but silence. On another world, an entire fleet of Council warships launched to intercept a human invasion. They never reached their target. Instead, their wreckage drifted in the void, burned beyond recognition, while the human fleet pressed forward untouched. Panic spread across the stars. For centuries, the Council had ruled unchallenged, but now their strongholds collapsed like paper before fire. Traders and travelers whispered of new human weapons that bent reality itself. Some claimed human missiles could split into dozens of smaller warheads, each finding its own target. Others swore they had seen beams of light so sharp they cut through ships like knives through glass. No one could confirm the truth, but everyone believed the rumors. Fear filled the galaxy faster than human fleets did. Inside the Council, desperation grew. Leaders who once spoke of extermination now begged for a plan to stop Earth's advance. Some demanded peace talks, but others screamed that peace was impossible, that the humans would never forgive. The arguments grew louder while the human fleets drew closer. Humanity did not pause. They did not wait for words. They struck system after system, moving like a tide of steel and fire. Each victory was the same: quick, brutal, absolute. Entire species that had voted for Earth's death now saw their own worlds burning. The galaxy, which had once feared humanity's silence, now feared their voice, because every message from humans was the same: we warned you. On Earth itself, the people watched the reports with cold pride. For the first time in history, the human race was not divided by borders or language. They were united, bound together by the threat of extinction. Every victory in the stars echoed across Earth, every fleet destroyed another reminder that humanity was not weak. In the training fields, soldiers stood taller. In the factories, workers labored harder. The war was no longer about survival alone. It was about proving to the universe that humanity could not be erased. The Council sent new armadas, desperate to regain control, but each one vanished as the first had. Human warships moved like shadows, striking at will, choosing their battles, leaving destruction wherever they went. No alien strategy could predict them, no fleet could match them. The galaxy began to understand the simple truth: humanity fought differently. They did not fight for conquest or glory. They fought because they had been threatened, and when threatened, humans answered with war unlike anything the universe had ever seen. Soon, even species that had stayed neutral began to tremble. They wondered if the humans would stop once the Council was defeated, or if they would continue until no enemy remained. The council itself began to fracture under the pressure. Alliances broke. Old rivals turned against one another, blaming each other for the disaster. But no blame could hide the truth. They had brought this upon themselves when they voted to erase humanity. Now they faced the price of that vote. And still, the humans pressed forward. With each system they took, with each fleet they destroyed, the question grew louder across the galaxy. How far would Earth go? Would they stop once the council was broken? Or would they keep marching until every star bowed to them? The counterattack had begun, and there was no force strong enough to stop it. The galaxy that once bowed before the council now watched its rulers tremble. The council had been the law of the stars for thousands of years. Their word was final, their fleets unmatched, their rule unquestioned. But all of that ended when they declared war on Earth. Humanity's counterattack had torn through their armadas, shattered their strongholds, and silenced their pride. Now the council itself was the target, and the humans were coming. Inside the grand chambers where the council met, panic filled the air. Leaders of proud species who once spoke with arrogance now whispered in fear. Reports of human victories arrived daily. Fortress worlds reduced to ashes. Fleets burned to nothing. Allies switching sides to avoid destruction. The council demanded plans, but there were no plans left. Every defense they had raised, every strategy they had trusted, had already failed. Outside their homeworld, the last of their grand fleets gathered. Thousands of ships lined the skies, more than had ever been assembled in one place before. The council believed that if they concentrated all their power, they might hold the humans back. They told themselves that this was their chance to show the galaxy they still had strength. But deep inside, they knew the truth. They were afraid. When the humans arrived, the stars themselves seemed to darken. The first human warships appeared at the edge of the system, black shapes moving with deadly calm. Then more came, and more, until the alien commanders realized with horror that the human fleet was larger than anything they had imagined. Where had Earth built such an armada? How had they hidden it? No one had answers. The only certainty was death. The battle began with fire that lit the void. Alien ships launched everything they had: missiles, beams, plasma storms, weapons that had conquered worlds before humanity ever touched the stars. The sky became a storm of light. But the humans moved through it all, their ships absorbing the fire, dodging with impossible speed, striking with precision. Each shot from a human cannon erased ships by the dozen. Each missile carved holes through entire formations. Alien fleets that had stood for centuries fell apart in hours. Admirals screamed orders, but their voices were lost in chaos. Crews begged for mercy, but no mercy came. The humans advanced step by step, cutting deeper into the heart of the system. By the second day, half the council fleet was gone. By the third, the survivors had begun to run. The once proud defenders scattered like prey, fleeing in every direction, only to be hunted down one by one. The human fleet never stopped. They pushed forward until the skies above the council homeworld burned with wreckage. For the first time in history, the heart of the galaxy's rulers lay open to an enemy. On the surface, panic ruled. Citizens of the council species flooded the streets, staring at the burning skies, waiting for fire to fall. The rulers gathered in their chambers, arguing about surrender, but it was already too late. Humanity had not come for peace. Humanity had come for justice. When the human fleet descended, the planet shook. Orbital defenses crumbled in minutes. Shield generators failed. Cities fell silent as power grids collapsed. In the capital itself, the great towers that had stood for millennia shook under the thunder of human guns. The council sent desperate transmissions, offering surrender, begging for talks. But their signals went unanswered. 4 years, humanity had been silent while the galaxy judged them. Now it was the council's turn to be ignored. The final blow came when a colossal human battleship, larger than any the galaxy had ever seen, entered orbit above the capital. Its shadow covered the land, a dark reminder of Earth's wrath. From its hull came a single broadcast that every being on the planet heard. A human voice, cold and unshaken, said, "This is the price of your judgment." Then the bombardment began. Fire rained from the sky. Towers crumbled, palaces burned, the great halls of the council were erased in blasts of white light. The rulers who had once declared Earth's extinction were gone in minutes, their homeworld shattered under the weight of the very war they had started. Across the galaxy, silence followed. Billions watched the fall of the council in stunned disbelief. The rulers of the stars were no more. The law that had stood for thousands of years was broken. In its place stood something new, something no one had dared imagine. Humanity had destroyed the council. The galaxy had lost its masters, and now all eyes turned to Earth. The war was over, but the galaxy did not feel peace. The council was gone, its fleets destroyed, its leaders erased, its homeworld burned to ashes. For thousands of years, the council had ruled with unquestioned power, and now that power had been shattered in only months of human war. Across the stars, silence spread once more, but this silence was not the silence of waiting. It was the silence of fear. The galaxy no longer asked if humanity could survive. Now it asked what humanity would do next. On Earth, the people did not celebrate with joy. There were no parades, no grand speeches. Instead, there was quiet pride, the kind that came from survival against impossible odds. The factories still roared, the soldiers still trained, the warships still patrolled the void. Humanity understood that the fall of the council was not the end of danger. It was only the beginning of something far larger. The galaxy had seen Earth's strength, and now every species watched carefully, wondering if they would be the next target. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed humanity would march across the stars, conquering every world until the galaxy bent to their will. Others whispered that humans would rebuild a new council with themselves at the top, forcing their rule on all who lived. Many hoped humanity would simply return to their own world and remain quiet. But deep down, no one believed it. Humanity had tasted war, and the galaxy had tasted fear. Things would never return to how they once were. In the ashes of the council homeworld, human ships drifted like guardians, their black hulls glinting in the light of burning cities. They did not leave, and that silence was an answer in itself. The council was gone, but its throne was not empty. Humanity stood there now, unchallenged, unmatched. The galaxy understood that a new order had begun. Some species rushed to pledge loyalty to Earth, desperate to survive. They sent emissaries with gifts, promises and pleas, hoping to avoid the fire that had consumed the council. Others tried to resist, raising fleets in secret, but none dared attack openly. Fear kept them still, the memory of human firepower holding their courage down. The galaxy was caught between terror and awe, and humanity gave no clear answer about what it wanted. On Earth, the leaders debated their path. Some argued that humanity should take control of the galaxy completely, to ensure no threat could rise again. Others warned that conquest would only create endless war. But all agreed on one thing: never again would Earth be weak, never again would humans kneel before others. That promise was enough to unite them. Meanwhile, across alien worlds, ordinary people whispered in the dark. They asked themselves the same question over and over. What do humans want? Do they seek revenge? Do they seek power? Or do they simply wish to be left alone? No one knew, and that uncertainty was more terrifying than open war. One thing was clear: the humans had changed the rules. Before, the galaxy had lived under the weight of the Council's judgment. Now it lived under the shadow of Earth. The new order did not come with laws or proclamations. It came with silence, with watchful ships at the borders, with the memory of fleets turned to ash. The galaxy bent without a word because it knew what defiance would bring. And still, humanity remained calm. They did not boast of victory, they did not demand worship, they did not announce empire. They simply stood, waiting, and the waiting was worse than war. Because the galaxy now knew that if anyone challenged Earth, the answer would not be words. The answer would be fire. In every corner of the stars, aliens spoke quietly of the humans, the species that had been sentenced to death and had answered with war. The Council had tried to erase them, and instead, the Council itself had been erased. Now, the galaxy lived in a new age, one shaped not by old rulers but by the wrath of Earth. And as time passed, one question remained, echoing through every world and every star system. Would anyone ever dare to challenge humanity again?